And hello again for part 2 of this rather long rambling video of my two Zenith El Primero watches. We've already discussed this one in part 1 at great length and its links and history with the Rolex Cosmograph. I'll now move that aside, we'll push him away for now, and I'll bring in the subject of this video, the part 2 video, and this is my second Zenith, and it's somewhat different from the Captain. I hope that my camera can zoom in on that. I mean, that's a pity that my camera can't zoom in even more, but if I keep on going, what happens is it just goes blurry. The camera can't get close enough, so I have to play around a little bit, go back, until we get a clear image again. Now, this watch is the first Zenith Pilot Chronograph that came out of the new range that came out in 2010. 2 years later they actually updated this watch and it became a big date Zenith Pilot, a little bit different. I actually prefer this one. The reason I got this was because it addresses some of the issues I have with my other El Primero, and I do love Zeniths, I do love El Primeros, so why not buy a second one? And those two issues are A, it's not so dressy, so it's more of a casual weekend watch, and B, the loom. I do like a good loom, and this has got some fantastic loom. The hands and the battens are quite large, they're well loomed. It's a very clear dial, it's a bi-compact style, it's got 2 counters rather than 3. You can see there the running seconds is on the left hand side and the 30-minute counter is on the right hand side. I'll show you a picture of the loom in a moment. In fact, I'll do it right now. Here it is. And with that out of the way, I can just fire up this Zenith here, and it runs pretty much the same as the other El Primero, as you would expect. So let's take him out of his little box and we can see the case. I've got to be careful because moving it around too much means you guys can't see it very well. But it's got a brushed stainless steel case rather than polished. It's a slightly more kind of macho, well, not macho, but certainly more casual watch in the Pilot tradition. So let's compare this one with the Captain. So let me move that out of the way and we'll bring them both together in front of the camera. As you can see, they're both pretty much the same size. In fact, they're both 42mm, they're the same thickness. The Pilot, though, as you expect for a Pilot, has a much larger crown here, and it makes life much easier for adjusting the time and date and whatever. They both have crocodile straps. They're both lined, calf lined for longevity of the strap, but the Pilot is obviously much more casual, more of a weekend watch, whereas I treat the Captain as my dress watch. I don't have a dress watch now, so this sort of fulfills that role by default. One interesting fact about the Pilot is Zenith have the rights to call a watch a Pilot watch and to name it as such on the dial. That's something nobody else has. I was quite surprised when I found that out, and the reason is because Zenith, being a very old company, they've been around 150 years now, they were involved in Pilot watches at the very birth of flight. And I believe that Louis Blériot, the chap who was the first to fly across the Channel, he wore a Zenith on that flight. So back in 1909, that was, Zenith already had that kind of DNA of flight watches, of the big black dial and the clear loom and the great big crowns and so on. So when other companies like Breitling and Omega claim to be the aviation watch company, well, I don't think so. Zenith were there much earlier than them. And in fact, what I can do now is I'll show you a photograph of that original Zenith watch from 1909, and which this watch bears some resemblance to, in fact. And here it is. And now we'll do another wrist shot. It's actually a bit difficult to reach to get it in focus again. As you can see, it wears pretty much the same as the Captain. I have quite a flat wrist, 7 1/4 1/4 inches. This is a 42mm case, but like most El Primeros, this case is a nice slim case compared to its size, certainly compared to things like a Breitling on some modern Omegas anyway. Yeah, so it fits well, it makes a great weekend watch, a great casual watch. I really should wear it more often. And just for a bit of fun, I happened to be wearing my first Omega in Space Speedmaster today, so we'll pop him in there as well for a comparison. As you can see, it looks quite small compared to these two. And 42mm is admittedly about the limit of what I'd like to wear. If the watch wasn't so slim, didn't have such nice lugs, I may not have gone for it. Certainly if it was a 44mm, it would have been too big for me. As it is, you know, these two are both great watches. I've had that one since 2011, that one just a year. And if I'm honest, there'll be no doubt which one I'd keep if I had to get rid of one or the other, and it would be this one that would stay and this Speedmaster that would go. Unless you actually handle them and own them for a while, I don't think you can appreciate the differences in those very tiny little sort of touchy-feely type things. The way the pushes work, they've got it just right in terms of the pressure required. In fact, I would say it's far superior to a 7750 or even a Speedmaster 1861 in terms of feel of using the chronograph, and it's certainly equal to the latest Rolex Daytona with the Rolex movement in there, which I also own. So it's a great watch, but Zenith, you know, will run it close. And finally, in conclusion then, I would say if you are looking for something a bit different from the usual Rolex and Omega brands, then consider a Zenith. They're lovely watches, very well made, fantastic movements with a great history, and the price new isn't too bad compared to a Rolex or Omega, and second-hand, they're great buys. And also don't forget about the other movements and other watches that Zenith make. They also make a fantastic three-hand movement called the Elite, which was developed in the early 90s and was one of the first generation of new style movements that were designed with the help of CAD, computer-aided design. And it's a very slim movement. It won awards all over the place when it was first released, and that still lives on in many of the Zenith watches, the three-handers, the Moon watches and so on. So I would say don't forget the Elite Movement 2. They make great watches, great dress watches, and some have GMT complications and moon phase complications too. I had one, that is the Elite 680, for almost 20 years before it was stolen, and that was a fantastic watch. It ran so well, and believe it or not, it ran to within about 1 or 2 seconds a week. That's how good it was. I probably didn't appreciate it at the time, but I do miss it, and one day maybe I'll go and find another one. So in conclusion then, I hope you like this little review of my two Zeniths, and cheers.